credible online platform that has profiles of all prospective candidates. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants and let Kenyans know more about you, your past achievements, your manifesto, and your development agenda once you get elected to office. What's more, the website is easy to navigate. We will create your profile, post pictures and short videos with your campaign messages at affordable hosting fees. Log on to www.kbc.co.ke/2022 aspirants today and establish your brand authority as we lead towards the forthcoming general elections.
A girl who was 13 years by then. She came to my office with her mother. When she came to my office, she wanted me to assist her. I was very much concerned. Why do you want me to assist you? This 13-year-old girl had been married as a second wife.
They came on Wednesday and the marriage was on Saturday. So you can feel the pressure.
Funny enough, the husband was abusing her. The husband was not taking good care of her. He left her matrimonial home when she was 6 months pregnant.
If it was you, ungefanya nini?
Barmi angeshika ya mtu. I put him in a tari. Remove all the clothes. Have a razor blade. Alafu na gata yama pieces kadogo kama ile ya nyeri.
Omera, this is my phone. It is not yours.
Of course it's yours, but it is tapping.
Why are you people intruding into my personal life?
Hey, leta muda yangu. What is wrong with you? Let me go, you crazy woman. You're crazy. Leta muda yangu.
No, come here.
Leta muda yangu. Kamene, calm down.
Our arts and entertainment industry has evolved over the years.
It is at such times that our destinies are written. Will we rise up in courage or die in cowardice?
Who are the movers and shakers in film and theatre? Get trendy as we review locally produced films and stage drama every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on Cinemas and Theatre.
Brought to you by the Kenya Film Commission. Film Kenya, Capture Africa.
The countdown is on. With less than 5 weeks remaining, the gubernatorial race is smoking hot. Migori County are yet to choose who will lead the county. But first, let's get to know the candidates' development agenda. This Thursday on 7th July, tune in to KBC Channel 1 from 9:50 p.m. for a live Migori County gubernatorial debate from Rongo University.
Wiki kwenye mkulima tutakuonyesha jinsi ya kupanda mboga za kienyeji.
Kitu ambacho nataka kuangalia katika hizi mbegu ni kuna uhusiano upi kati ya hizi mbegu ambazo ni nyekundu, zingine ni nyeupe, ambao unafanya hizi mbegu zipendwe na wadudu.
Kisha kutukuonyeshe jinsi ya kuzitayarisha jikoni. Tukutane Jumapili saa 9:30 kwa Wondo kamili.
Every day, over 15 million members are transforming Africa.
15 million members, empowered to learn, to grow, to harvest, to lead, to dream. Equity. Karibu member.
Welcome to Prime Edition. I am Cynthia Nyamai. Now tonight, how prepared is Kenya for the elections? One of the stories that we have for you is the ballot papers arrival. And in business, maize imports is one story that you have been commenting on, and we have the details for you. And in studio, I do have my colleague O'Brien. And O'Brien, from the guests that you have today, I know this evening is going to be one discussion nobody wants to miss. Tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much indeed, Cynthia. Tonight we want to focus on the political party manifestos. It has been the month that it has been dubbed as the month of political manifesto spree. And of course, we want to look at what is contained in these manifestos and how they are well aligned with Kenya's long-term economic blueprint in the name of Vision 2030. I have a team of experts in the studio who will be helping us to dissect what is contained in those political manifestos economically as well as business-wise. So that is a conversation, as Cynthia is saying, you cannot afford to miss. It is coming up later on. It's around 9:30, so stick around. But for now, let's have a look at the highlights with Cynthia.
Gearing up for elections, IEBC receives first batch of ballot papers. On the campaign trail, Azimio flag bearer disown Paul boycott claims. Economic focus, we delve deeper into party manifestos. Our sign language interpreter is Lucy Maura. And remember, we would like to hear from you. Do send us your feedback on our social media pages, Instagram and even on Facebook. The page is KBC Channel 1. And I'll definitely be sharing some of your comments at the end of this bulletin. Now to politics, where the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has received the first batch of ballot papers as preparation for the 9th August general election gears up. IEBC CEO Marjan Hussein, who led the commission in inspecting the cargo at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, said the arrival of the ballot papers signals that the commission is ready to conduct a credible and transparent exercise. 128 pallets containing ballot papers Thursday morning landed at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport from Greece.
IEBC officials in the company of security personnel cleared the batch, which is the first to arrive ahead of the upcoming general election.
For Senate is 111, for Governor 9, and for seats of women member National Assembly 8 pellets. What we have outside here is 32 pellets, which from here they'll now be taken to our national warehouse.
The ballot papers are for specific elective units, which the Commission says are not embroiled in petitions in counties including Mombasa, Kitui, Embu, Tana River, Taita Taveta, Nairobi, Wajir, Kwale and Garissa. IEBC says all the ballot papers will arrive in the country through JKIA, dismissing what they term as propaganda by politicians.
There are no ballot papers which will come in the country from any other place, as alleged by some political leaders. The exercise is transparent. All the polling materials are being printed in Greece, Athens, Greece, and the other factories in Greece.
With the last batch, which will contain the presidential ballot papers, scheduled to arrive on the 29th of July, IEBC says political parties will visit the printing company in Greece to witness the process before the dispatch.
So the Commission is informing the country that we are transparent in this process and we have nothing to hide.
I think you know that we are running out of time. Right now we cannot talk about not printing ballot papers. We don't want to create any doubts. I think Kenyans must be sure that going ahead we are going to have election, and that's why you are seeing the ballot papers here.
Total cost of the contract with Inform Lycos Holdings stands at 3.2 billion shillings, with each paper costing an average of 23 shillings, including VAT. IEBC says the arrival of the first batch of the ballot materials signals how prepared the Commission is to conduct the 9th August general elections. 29th of this month will be the last day for the arrival of the presidential ballot papers. Kamche Menza for Prime Edition at JKIA, Nairobi.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has suspended 3 officers who were involved in the transfer of voters and filed a report with the Director of Public Investigations for further action. The Commission's Chair, Wafula Chebukati, however, says they are concerned by increasing attacks from politicians and social media targeting their staff. He said the matter is being investigated by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, on Thursday gave their latest report yet on the 2022 election preparedness. The Commission assuring Kenyans that the procurement process was above board.
The Commission used open tendering method for the purpose of sourcing the printer of ballot papers as well as the results forms. And you are aware that out of this, Inform Lycos was actually the company that won this tender.
An attempt by some newspapers to profile me to Moses Wetangula. Now, that is very, very unfortunate. As the chair of the commission, I've never sat with an individual to discuss procurement.
Commission Chairman Wafula Chebukati said the DCI is investigating unsubstantiated reports in public domain touching on their staff.
The Commission is concerned and takes a great exception on the rising propaganda through gutter press, social media, and some political players on its members and staff. This has not only led to anxiety among key staff of the Commission, but also security threats to them.
He, however, said unconcluded court cases involving aspirants is hindering the ballot printing process.
The Commission notes with concern that these critical processes could be hampered by unconcluded court cases.
The Commission will next week hold a conference bringing together key stakeholders and the public to reflect on their roles ahead of the August poll. The Commission saying a voter's ID or passport which they use to register can be inserted in the KIMS kit for identification in the event their fingerprints failed. And with 32 days to the polls, the Commission has maintained that the biometric voter identification is what will be used.
The biometric register and the physical register or the paper register, they are one and the same. You use the biometric register to print the paper register. So this notion being carried around that biometric register and paper register are different is actually misleading Kenyans.
The matter on a physical register to be used as a complementary system is still pending in court, with IEBC awaiting the outcome.
We proceed to print the register, but we await the outcome of the court.
For Prime Edition, I'm Ben Troy Njue.
Disqualified presidential aspirants in the just concluded Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IBC registration process now want to be included on the ballot paper. The aspirants, led by the Third Lions party leader Dr. Kuru Okot, at the same time want the whole presidential process nullified and repeated. This even as the electoral body says only the court can revoke the clearance of presidential candidates. Zainab has that report.
The push and pull between the disgruntled presidential aspirants who failed to make it during the presidential clearance process and the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IBC is far from over, with the petitioners demanding to be included on the ballot paper. The aspirants who are now riding on Tuesday's High Court decision that squashed directives that require presidential hopefuls to submit copies of their supporters' IDs want the whole exercise of presidential clearance revoked.
People got a week, others got 2 weeks. I was given 20 minutes. So when we say that the nomination process was discriminatory, there is evidence, and now there is a court ruling with regard to the same.
IBC, however, says such demands can only be enforced through a court order.
There is no such a positive order directing the commission to clear those aspirants. So the law applies moving forward, and the commission is guided. The commission has a feeling that that judgment is not sound with respect, and has filed a notice of appeal in that respect.
The aspirants are also demanding the postponement of election date by 60 days.
As we speak today, we do not have any presidential candidates running for 2022 election, and that's why we are saying this election has to be postponed until we have a credible IEBC and a credible chairman of the electoral Boundaries Commission that can actually manage this election.
Though the court did not compel the commission to include the aspirant's name on the ballot papers, whose printing is underway, the politicians say they will not relent until their names are included.
First time in the history of Kenya that we actually have so many petitions against the referee. In the past, it has been petitions against members and their parties, but this time we are talking about petitions against the referee called Chebukati.
The electoral body has meanwhile said it will appeal against the High Court ruling, adding that it was not going to retract on any process made on election preparedness. For Prime Edition, I'm Zainab Said.
Azimio presidential candidate Raila Odinga has refuted reports that plans to boycott the August poll. Raila says the Azimio coalition is confident of a landslide win. They, however, asked IEBC to ensure they conduct a credible poll.
In the conclusion of his campaigns in Mount Kenya region, the Azimio leader was in Kirinyaga, the native home of his running mate Martha Karua. Following his remarks on the Azimio irreducible minimums measuring on the manual voter register backup in every polling station, Raila refuted claims that he was planning to boycott the elections. Raila says the coalition is confident of a win in 32 days.
Sisi kama Azimio la Umoja tunahakika tunashinda hii uchaguzi. Tayari tuko zaidi ya 65%. tutashinda na zaidi ya 70%. Kwa hivyo sisi hatuwezi kususia uchaguzi. Sisi we cannot boycott elections. Nilisema haitafanyika kama wataiba. Sikusema ya kwamba hatutaingia kwa uchaguzi. Sisi hatutasusia uchaguzi. We shall not boycott elections.
He, however, threw a warning shot at IEBC, claiming the coalition was aware of plans to interfere with the credibility of the elections.
We cannot boycott the elections. Sisi waoga, tutaendelea na uchaguzi, lakini tumwambia tume ya uchaguzi wasithubutu kujaribu katika kuiba uchaguzi. Haitafanyika Kenya hii.
Sasa sisi tuko na hakika ya kwamba tutashinda uchaguzi ijao kwa 70%. Lakini tunataka tufunge mwanya yote ambayo panya anaweza pitia.
We are ready for you on the 9th because we know that we have our vote. And tunajua kwamba ninyi ndio mnaogopa uchaguzi, sisi hatuna uoga hata kidogo kwa sababu tunajua Wakenya wako pande.
Uliambiwa 2017 ufungue sava ukakataa. Raundi hii tena umeanza upuzi. Nataka nikuelezea kwamba tunakujua. Saizi tunakujua vizuri.
Raila called on the youth, who he says will be the biggest beneficiaries of his administration, to come out in large numbers to vote as well as assist the elderly to vote.
Na vijana mkishaenda pale mnakaa chonjo. Wazee wakija mnawaruhusu kupatia nafasi wapige kura wanaenda rudi nyumbani. Na wamama vile vile. Lakini vijana nyinyi mnakesha hapo mpaka kura imalizike, mpaka ihesabiwe, mpaka itangazwe. Tunatoka hapo. Sawa sawa.
The Azimio leaders claim the reform record of its two principles is an indicator that they would deliver services to Kenyans once elected.
Mzalendo, leo ni tarehe 7 mwezi wa 7. Tarehe tunaita 7/7. Tarehe Raila Amolo Odinga, Getomu Manyara ambaye ako hapa na wengine wengi walishikwa kule Nairobi kwa sababu ya kupigania haki za kidemokrasia.
While in Kirinyaga, Raila promised to improve agriculture and infrastructure as a continuation of President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. Raila Odinga concluded his Mount Kenya tour, accompanying his running mate Mother Karua for the first time to her native Kirinyaga County, rallying area residents around his presidential bid. Tomorrow, the campaigns head to Kakamega County. John Jacob Kuria, Prime Edition.
For that report. Now, United Democratic Alliance presidential candidate William Ruto has castigated the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition party for making unrealistic demands on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. Ruto says IEBC is an independent body that should be allowed to carry out the mandate without any interference.
Arambe. Deputy President William Ruto took his campaign to Marsabit County, where he asked Raila Odinga and his allies to respect the independence of the IEBC.
Wewe wacha kukoroga wa Kenya, wacha kulete vitisho, wacha kulete masharti. Uchaguzi itafanyika tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 kwa sababu wa Kenya wameamua na watachagua serikali yao. Wewe uamue kama utakuwa kwa ballot ama ujiondoe. Watu wa Azimio watafute candidate mwingine wamenyane na mimi. Bottom.
Ruto argues that it is wrong for Azimio to pile pressure on IEBC just days to the much anticipated poll.
IEBC have already set the game for 9th of August. You better arrange yourselves and participate. Sijui kama tunaelewana ndugu zangu. Sasa mimi nataka niwaulize, si hawa watu walituambia wako na deep state? Si walituambia wako na system? Si saa hii wanapiga makelele ati sijui iko shida gani na manual register?
Si 2013 alitisha kususia. Si tulishinda tukaunda serikali. Si 2017 aliposhindwa na kotini ikarudisha, si alisusia. Wakenya wakachagua Uhuru Kenyatta.
The deputy president said should Kenya Kwanza win next month's polls, the government will initiate mechanism that will help fight corruption and bring economic transformation.
Tumesema hii mifugo yetu, mbuzi, ng'ombe, ngamia, ngozi ya ngamia na mbuzi yetu na ng'ombe yetu hamutakuwa mnatupa tena. Sasa tutatumia hiyo ngozi yetu kutengeneza viatu hapa Kenya, na hawa vijana wetu watafanya hiyo kazi, ndio tuzalishe mali na tuhakikishe kwamba mko na faida kwa mifugo yenu.
The deputy president and his allies have distanced themselves from allegation by the Azimio camp that they may have compromised the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
Sheria inasema ya kwamba ile digital register, electronic register shall be final, and only when there is complete failure will there be a complementary mechanism. That is the judgment of the court, and the commission is right in implementing the law as it is.
Na wameanza kuogopa kwa sababu wameona hawana watu, wameona hawana kura.
Timothy Kipnoso for Prime Edition.
Pata ulimi na mafikira kama sikiza tune kwenye simu yako, bonyeza *811 *815
Hey, my friend, ulimi ni kama msumari na mafikira ni kama nyundo. Hizo vitu mbili zikishikana, sinaweza chenga ama sinaweza pomoa. Haki na sita tafadhali. Hebu fikiria hiyo kitu nataka kuniambia kabla nishike hii simu. Kama unataka kunipomoa, toa hiyo simu kwa masikio. Unaona hiyo kitu ya red? Finya hiyo kitu ya red.
Kupata ulimi na mafikira, bonyeza *811 *815 *811 *815
We shall legalize weed.
Professor George Luchiri Wajakoya of the Roots Party.
Semeni Babakea. Babakea.
Raila Amolo Odinga of the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Party.
Unajua mimi sina pesa ya serikali ama ya kashfa.
David Mwaure Wahiga of the Agano Party. And
hakuna kura ya hasla mtaiba.
William Samoei Ruto of the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. Presidential Debate 2022. Do not adjust your sets.
Welcome back. Now time for business. Public institutions will now be required to record financial transactions regardless of when the actual cash flow for the transaction are received. The transaction form of the current cash accounting system when auditing public service entities has been necessitated by the increasing amount of uncounted funds during the year financial reviews. The system change will be done in phases from the 1st of July in 2023 and will take 3 years for a full transition.
According to Section 159 of the Kenyan Companies Act, all companies need to appoint an auditor annually. For public service institutions, external auditing is conducted beside it to ensure public funds are accounted for to the last cent. The Public Sector Accounting Standards Board, however, now says the large number of gaps witnessed in accounting for funds allotted to their offices stems from poor bookkeeping and periodic cash accounting systems. To solve this, the Public Sector Accounting and Standards Board has imposed the use of accrual accounting systems for all public offices to ensure better accountability and monitoring of these funds.
So setting the financial accounting and internal auditing standards, including the formats for presentation and disclosure of both financial and non-financial information, ensures uniformity in reporting by state organs and public entities.
We do not want to wait for an annual event. We are looking at a continuous engagement with our reporting entities.
Auditor General Nancy Gathungu says government institutions must strive to hire professionals as internal auditors to weed out inefficiencies at the root before an external audit is conducted. She says the stipulated standards will be adopted by public officers and compliance will be mandatory.
That ultimately these efforts will aid in establishing sound financial reporting and governance practices in public sector in Kenya.
PSABS now says counties have to be prepared with effective asset management and monitoring and evaluation before the system is implemented.
This might help in changing the situation where we have seen a lot of auditing gaps, especially in public service entities.
Hibak Said for Prime Edition.
The government is adamant it will not directly import maize even as millers continue to struggle to get grains from the international markets. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munoz says millers failed to meet their import quota allocations due to lack of grain globally. The situation has forced the government to initiate talks with other nations to secure maize for Kenyan millers.
The government has absolved itself from the 2 shilling maize flour reduction, saying the pricing was arrived at after consultation with the millers and other maize importers. Munya says the high prices might persist because Tanzania, where Kenya sources maize to fill its annual deficit, has warned that the coming season crop will not even meet its local demand.
It's a problem of this region because of the droughts and the disruptions that came with those challenges of COVID, locusts, all those challenges that we have been facing as a region. Does that mean we are not alive to it as a government? We don't want to do something? No, we are doing. We are doing.
Lack of maize in the neighboring countries and a high cost of transporting the grain has seen some millers cede their import allocations altogether, further increasing the price of maize flour. Despite this, the government says it will not import maize directly and instead will work with willing millers to source for import markets.
Kwanza kujilisha kama taifa, hiyo ndio lengo moja tumeweka juu sana, ile tunaita food security, kuweza kuwa na chakula ambayo tunaweza kujilimia sisi wenyewe hapa, na tumekuwa na changamoto kubwa kwa hiyo lengo kwa hii miaka imepita.
This as the government says it will complete talks with Zambia to start importation of maize from the South African country, and KRA officials will be dispatched along the Zambia-Kenya border to facilitate quick clearance of the consignment.
As elections draw nearer, the 4 political outfits running for the top seat have committed to deploy long-term measures that will boost agricultural productivity across the country. From Azimio la Umoja's ambition to grow the sector's GDP contribution to 30%, to Kenya Kwanza's allocation of 250 billion shillings to this sector for the next 5 years, and Wajakoya's Root Party seeking to legalize marijuana and commercial farming, as well as the Agano Party's promise to ban the importation of basic food commodities produced locally. Caroline Njenga breaks down the vision for Kenya's agriculture in the manifestos.
In its 10-point agenda, Agenda 4 is the Azimio la Ukulima, in which the Azimio Party vows to generate agricultural bounty to feed the people of Kenya. The Raila Odinga-led coalition further commits to creating an enabling environment for climate-smart agriculture, agro-processing, improved livestock farming, mechanization, digitization and application of science and technology in agriculture.
Promote agriculture in large scale, and we'll also introduce smart agriculture so that our farmers can be able to get value for their efforts.
Ile muhimu na ambayo focus yetu itakuwa ni kuhakikisha changamoto zile ziko kwa kilimo ambazo zinazuia kupata mapato ya juu zaidi.
This, he says, will grow the agriculture sector to 30% of the gross domestic product, which would increase from 22.4% in 2021, according to the economic survey. The manifesto has also factored in climate change adaptation and mitigation to support and help realize high agricultural productivity.
We will subsidize our agriculture by providing farm inputs, providing seeds, providing fertilizers and chemicals at subsidized price.
This comes against a backdrop of skyrocketing farm input prices. In April, a 50 kg bag of DAP fertilizer had hit a high market price of 6,000 shillings before a directive was issued by Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya to revert the prices to 2,800 shillings. To turn around the agriculture sector, Deputy President William Ruto centered his 7-point manifesto on smallholder agriculture and the informal sector, which he promised to allocate 500 billion shillings. In the manifesto, Ruto-led alliance has committed an additional allocation of 250 billion shillings for the next 5 years, which he says will be used to provide farmers adequate working capital through cooperative societies, deployment of modern agricultural risk management instruments, and to transform 2 million poor farmers from food deficit to surplus producers, among others.
Agricultural productivity is the secret.
Farmers and pastoralists have witnessed widespread livestock deaths due to the prevailing drought, minimal rainfall, low cropping levels, and sharp declines in purchasing power, creating large food consumption gaps and high levels of acute malnutrition among millions of households.
We need to capitalize that sector so that we can provide animal feed, we can provide good quality seed, we can provide good quality affordable fertilizer, and we can provide agrochemicals.
Ruto resolved to raise agriculture productivity to increase farmers' earnings and help Kenya generate more income, thereby tackling poverty.
Every Kenyan spends 54% of their income on food. 54%. In fact, the poorer families are spending 60% of their income on food alone.
He noted that by revamping the sector, his administration would address the high cost of living. The Azimio la Umoja Coalition and Kenya Kwanza Alliance manifestos have committed to implement the minimum guarantee returns in the coffee, tea and dairy sectors. Timothy Njagi, an agricultural expert from Tegemeo Institute of Policy and Development, says the manifestos have a lot of general statements that do not show the real commitment, and the minimum guarantee return standout is not clear on how this will be implemented. In dairy farming, Ruto committed to revitalizing the sector by pumping 8.8 billion shillings.
We would actually double our milk production from 5 billion litres to 10 billion litres.
Noting that Kenya spends 300 billion shillings to import food that can be grown locally, Ruto said Kenya has the capacity to produce a bigger share for consumption and export, adding that he plans to reduce the dependency on basic food inputs by 30% through government-supported programs.
Acre of Bangi can earn you $78,000 or 8 million per harvest.
According to Wajakoya, revenue generated from the cultivating and exporting of marijuana has the potential to clear escalating debt. Caroline Jenga for Primetime Edition.
Wiki hii kwenye Mkulima tutakuonyesha jinsi ya kupanda mboga za kienyeji.
Kitu ambacho nataka kuangalia katika hizi mbegu ni kuna uhusiano upi kati ya hizi mbegu ambazo ni nyekundu, zingine ni nyeupe, ambao unafanya hizi mbegu zipendwe na wadudu.
Kisha kutukuonyeshe jinsi ya kuzitayarisha jikoni. Tukutane Jumapili saa 9:30 kwa Wondo kamili.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Change gears now, it's a time for sports. Former Football Kenya Federation President Nick Mwendwa has been rearrested a few hours after his case was thrown out by the anti-corruption court due to lack of evidence. According to police, Mwendwa, who was arrested this morning at his house in Kiambu Road, is being grilled at the DCI headquarters ahead of being arraigned at the Kiambu Law Courts. Later this afternoon, the anti-corruption court in Nairobi terminated his case of alleged misappropriation of Football Kenya Federation funds after the prosecution failed to provide evidence. Mwendwa has been accused to have conspired to defraud the Football Kenya Federation of over 30 million shillings. National Rugby 15-a-side team Simba enhanced their chances of qualifying the 2023 Rugby World Cup after beating Algeria 36-33 in the semi-finals last night in France. The team will now face Namibia in the final match this Sunday.
'23 Rugby World Cup Africa qualifiers after beating Algeria 36-33 in the semi-final match played last night at the Deloitte Stadium in Marseille, France. Namibia qualified for the final match after beating Zimbabwe 34-19 in the other semi-final match played last night at the Maurice David Stadium in France. The two teams secured victorious in the quarterfinals, with Kenya beating Uganda 42-7 while Algeria thrashed Senegal 35-12. The finals will be held this Sunday at the Maurice David Stadium in France.
That's it for sports. We'll take a break now, but remember the interview that I told you, the discussion that we're going to have in studio that you do not want to miss. It's coming up shortly with O'Brien.
Under the leadership of President Uhuru Kenyatta, programs that support young people to reach their potential in line with Generation Unlimited goals have been implemented.
In sum, we are telling our youth that the only way to become a change maker in Generation Unlimited is to confront their fears. Do what you are afraid of so long as it's positive.
The fundamental goal of GenU is to make sure that by 2030, all young people aged 10 to 24 are either in school, in training, or working.
I
came here and I was trained on transcription, I was trained on online writing, I was trained on social media marketing, among others.
Good. Well, it has been a season of political party launching their manifestos in the last 30 days, from Azimio la Umoja to Kenya Kwanza and, of course, Agano Party and the Roots Party of Kenya. All of them have launched their documents promising Kenyans grand ideas. And the question is these: are they workable? Can they be implemented given the current economic situations that we are in as a country and as a world? What does it take to implement them? And are they well aligned with Kenya's long-term economic blueprint of Vision 2030? Those are the questions that we are facing tonight. I'm joined by Vimal Shah. He's the chair of Kenya Daima, and Ken Muige, the Director General of Vision 2030. These are the two gentlemen who will be guiding us to help us understand whether these documents are well aligned and whether these politicians, they can deliver their promises. Vimal Shah, thank you very much indeed for finding time to be with us this evening.
Good evening.
And of course, Ken Muige, thank you as well for your time.
Karibu.
And I want to start with you, Ken Muige, you know, as the Director General of Vision 2030 Secretariat. When you analyze the 4 documents so far launched by Kenya Kwanza, Azimio la Umoja, Roots Party and Agano, do you feel that they are well aligned with Vision 2030?
Thank you for the question. There are 91 registered political parties in Kenya. 91. We've seen, I think, 4 parties produce manifestos so far. So we have 87 manifestos still out there. And you have to agree statistically, one of those parties could say something which would turn the tide. You never know what happens. So the reason why we're looking at these manifestos is because manifestos are the promise to wananchi. They're the promise to wananchi. And we want to ensure that the political class is aware that Kenya is not starting from scratch. We're not starting from scratch. A lot of good hard work has been done over the last 15 years or so, from 2008. You have public servants, private sector working very, very hard to try and move this country forward. And I think if we are fair to this country and if we are fair to ourselves and if we are honest for a minute, even the political competitors today, I think none of them is saying that nothing has happened in Kenya. There's development everywhere, everywhere, across all sectors, across all pillars. And one of the big things which did very well for this country was devolution. The new constitution in 2010, which was one major key deliverable under the political pillar, and which is underpinning all the development in this country. And then the onset of devolution in 2013. Today, if you go to any part of this country, start extreme northwest, Turkana, border with South Sudan, go north, border with Ethiopia, go northeast, border with Somali, come all the way down Tanzania. Everywhere you go, you will find development in this country, across all sectors, whether it's roads, whether it's hospitals, whether it's schools, whether it is curriculum, whether it is whatever it is. So we've made a lot of good progress as a government and as a country. And the task for political parties is to move the country forward. There's no political party which says we want to undo all the gains which have been made. There's no political party which says we're going to reverse all the gains which have been made. All political parties want well for this country, and the manifesto is their promise of how they're going to do it. So manifestos are very important because we want the citizens to be able to compare apples and oranges, to be able to compare goats and sheep, to be able to tell the difference between an animal and a plant. So the manifesto is very, very important because as Kenya is a very literate country, by the way. Kenyans are literate. They read, they watch TV, and they listen to the radio, and they are very, very actively engaged in politics and development. So a manifesto is becoming increasingly a very, very important document because Kenyans want to hold their leaders to account. You told us in the last election, let's start from where? 2002, for example. These were the promises in 2002. In 2007, you have another set of promises. In 2013, you have another set of promises. In 2017, you have another set of promises. And right now, all you're getting is many, many promises. But how do these promises work? How do they sit? How do they interface with existing government systems and existing priorities which are going on? And if you want to change, something, for example, to deliver in a different way from the current government is doing, then the manifesto is what tells us how you intend to do it. How do you plan to do it? So these documents are very, very important. We have 4 so far, and for me, I'm hoping that we can see the other 87. Hopefully, before the next 3 weeks are over and it's the election. Yes.
You see, one of the most interesting thing about the Kenyan politics now, the question of how to improve people's lives, the question of how to grow the economy, is now taking the center stage. And as the chairperson of Kenya Daima, what does this exactly mean for us as a country?
I think, first and foremost, we have grown very well. I think we've matured to a level of democracy, number one. Number two, I think when you look at the Vision 2030 and when you look at the manifestos, you can see the language of everyone is about the economic, the social, and the political pillars, right? And then, of course, the enablers and the foundations and the enablers that were there. So Vision 2030 became a very good framework for people to now build on and say, where do we go? If you look at the ideologies and the philosophies that all of them have brought through, it's about economy, it's about jobs, it's about how do I do, the social agenda. It's about equitable and affordable services to people, education, healthcare, the whole lot. So I think overall, we have matured quite well in our democracy. And you can see the language is also of competitiveness, right? They're all talking about where do we go in terms of competitiveness, improved lifestyles for all, housing. Some of them are talking about the whole Big Four agenda, agribusiness, manufacturing, housing, and also healthcare, affordable healthcare. So I think alignment overall is quite good. So when we look at that, I think the leadership is looking towards the same direction. So we don't have variances in ideology. What we have is about who's going to be the best leader to sort of take us there and who sits in that position. So I think we have matured quite well. Alignment of a lot of the parties, a lot of the languages is there, the civil service the same way. So I think this is where we see that we don't see serious disruption where one is a communist party and one is a capitalist party and say we're going to go different directions.
You are part of the National Economic and Social Council that was in charge of overseeing the implementation of projects under Vision 2030. Do you feel that these 4 manifestos, they plug in completely with the Vision 2030 agenda?
Yes, so I think that's very, very strong in terms of framework, very similar framework. The only thing is the how-tos and the detail is different, that's all. And I think some people are doing it differently, some people are doing it differently, and they're articulating it differently. However, we're going from MTP 3 to MTP 4 now, the medium-term plan 4, and that's where we're going to change. So when this comes out and whoever comes in, they're going to now go into the detailed how-to of getting things done. What a lot of us look at is short-term problems. We have a short-term problem of economy. We've come out of 2 years of COVID and we have had disruption. And therefore, today, imported inflation is a big problem. It's all imported inflation because we do import a lot of stuff. And therefore, the prices overall have gone up. So that's affecting people in a big way. However, to address that, you can see the social pillar has become stronger. And I think the governance pillar also, they're all looking at it differently. So seriously, when we look at it from a Kenya Daima perspective, I think first and foremost, we're going to have a smooth transition, number one. Number two, they're all talking very similar in terms of where we're going. The question now is about people, whom do they trust? And at Kenya Daima, we say, kagua bele ya kuchagua, or kagua kabla ya kuchagua. So people can see and screen and see who are the best people who can take this vision and make it happen. So manifestos are a very good thing. The philosophy is shown, the ideology is shown, and it actually shows what it is. The detail how-to will come later.
It will come later. Ken, I also want to hear from you. I mean, you see, when you look at the 4 documents that have so far been launched, they talk so much about how to address the Kenyan economy, the business environment, from a local perspective. And what we are forgetting is that Kenya is a player in the global arena, whereby you have more than 190 countries, playing in the global sphere. Are you convinced, or do you feel that we have somehow neglected the issues of geopolitics in our manifesto plannings?
Thank you. I think let me start with something Vimal said here about the issue-based politics. One of the key desires of the political pillar of Kenya Vision 2030 is to have issue-based politics. And that's away from identity and tribe and things like that. And I think Kenyans, wherever we are today, we need to be very, very grateful, because I think we're seeing this as our first election where it is not about Vimal's tribe or Mwige's tribe or Kimani's tribe. It is about the economy. Kenyans are saying we don't really care what tribe we come from right now. The hunger is the same for all of us. The problems are the same for all of us. And there's no tribe which gets special treatment anywhere. We all suffer equally. So it's very, very good. It shows that Kenya is maturing politically, because in this election, there's only one issue on the table, really, the economy. Only one issue. And that's a very, very good win for this country, because it means we have transcended, and we hope the political class can realize this has happened and please not take us back to identity-based politics and tribal politics. We need to maintain the momentum. We need to have this election decided on an issue, and the next election decided on another issue or other issues, so that we move away from this balkanization of the country, etc. And then we start dealing with real problems the way we should deal with them. Kenya, in the last 2 years, we've discovered that we are part of the global world. Something happens in China, and then the whole world shuts down. Something happens somewhere else, something else happens. We are completely interconnected in the global economy, even socially. Social media, the internet, we are really a global village. So Kenya can't work or develop in isolation. We can't. We are part of East Africa. We are part of we are part of Africa. We are part of the world. So, and there's nothing we can do here which is an island in isolation, which is why when we developed a framework manifesto to guide political parties, we said we also have to align to the UN Sustainable Development Goals 2030, SDGs, and also African Agenda 2063. So that Kenya is not going off on a tangent by itself. We are actually following, and we are making incremental changes, incremental developments. So the task of the incoming government is to consolidate the past gains, and then give a fresh push to achieve what we want faster or better. That's what we want. Yeah.
Let's now have a look at a cursory review of what some of the political parties have promised in their manifestos, and we'll start with the Azimio la Umoja. And this is what they're promising. They have come up with an agenda they are calling the Fukuza Njaa agenda to deal with food insecurity. Jumpstart Made in Kenya to boost the manufacturing sector. The Azimio manifesto also talks about this is Azimio la Umoja. They're also talking about increasing funding to counties to enable them set up industrial parks, exploit blue economy and fisheries through funding and research. Another thing that they are proposing is what they are calling the Baba Connect. This is very interesting because they're talking about making fiber optic cables available countrywide, and finally setting up of steel mills through public-private partnerships. Those are some of the promises within the or contained in the Azimio la Umoja manifesto. Let's now look at Kenya Kwanza, where they're talking about allocating 250 billion shillings to farmers from financial year 2023 to 2027, raise mortgage numbers from 30,000 to 1 million, boost construction of affordable housing to 250,000 units. Something else that they are talking about is the digital superhighway, adopt electric mass transit system, and Something else is allocate 50 billion shillings a year for SMEs or medium, small, or micro, small, and medium enterprises. What is Agano Party promising Kenyans? Well, they're saying they want to slash pay as you earn by half, that is 50%. Then they want to improve returns for farmers by weeding out cartels and middlemen. That is the Agano. They also plan to review export and import tariffs in order to rejig our export business. What about the Roots Manifesto, the Roots Party of Kenya? They are talking about legalizing commercial marijuana farming and exports. They're also talking about introduction of snake rearing and exports to help offset the national debt. Quite radical there, if you ask me. What else are they saying? They want to start export of dog meat to China and other countries. And finally, they want to authorize the harvest of hyena organs for export. Very radical there, if you ask me. I want to hear. I want your thoughts on, especially the Roots Party of Kenya proposals on legalization of marijuana farming, harvesting of hyena products, organs for export. What do you make of that as a person from the private sector?
I think first and foremost, I would say congratulations to them on being innovative and looking at new things. Mm-hmm. The question that comes in is whether that's practical or not. And I think in this world that we're living in, these are probably not very practical, and they're not ethical in all aspects. So there'll be a lot of resistance to that globally and ourselves locally. I think that's something that we've got to accept. But it's just that let's have the discussion. This shows us that the democracy in Kenya is thriving. We can actually have such proposals and you can still be a presidential candidate. But I think overall, practically not possible.
There will be a lot of challenges. So if one day on the 9th of August or 10th or 11th, we wake up and Kenyans elect Professor Wajakoya as the president, do you think his proposals, they rhyme with the aspirations of Vision 2030?
I think, okay, let's talk about Roots Party for a minute. Very, like Vimal says, very bold, radical, not out of the box. There's no box here. They've created their own box.
Yeah.
And this is good. And I'll tell you why it is good, O'Brien. Not too long ago, a few hundred years ago, not many, the world was flat. O'Brien, everyone thought the world was flat. And there were one or two people who raised their hands to say, excuse me, I don't think it's flat. Galileo Galilei, one of them, for example. They were excommunicated from the church, same church we have today, excommunicated and banned and hanged and killed from the stake for daring to say what nobody is ready to say. So we must congratulate Professor Wajakoya because he's daring and he has dared to say what other people are too scared to say. But moving away from that, let's come now to the serious issue about the Roots Party and their manifesto. It is a fact that the rest of the world is racing very fast to deal with the question of marijuana. Not just for commercial use, hemp, industrial hemp, but also for medical use. And I want to tell you, O'Brien, especially for medical use, if you have ever been affected by cancer, or somebody you know has been affected by cancer, you will drop all your religions and you will drop all your dogmas in your head and you will take any medicine which you think can help you. It's a fact that the medical marijuana business is worth billions in the world. And the danger now for Kenya, for example, is to close our eyes, stick our heads in the sand and say, bangi ni mbaya. But the rest of the world is moving ahead with it. There's research and development going on. The state of Israel today, we are Christians in Kenya. If you go to the state of Israel, the Holy Land, the Bible, where the Bible came from, where Jesus was born, where Christians call home, spiritual home, and Muslims as well, you find that the marijuana industry there is very, very advanced in Israel. Okay? So we need to be careful not to wave our Bibles here too much. and be left behind.
So you're of the opinion that this is
I'm
something
of the opinion that his
to...
ideas need to be looked at seriously.
They need to be probed seriously.
If you look at the US, for example,
yes,
marijuana is legal in more than half the states. Okay.
It's also legal in Canada.
It's legal in Canada. It's legal in South Africa. It's legal in Malawi. Uganda has started dealing with it. Malawi has started dealing with it. Even Rwanda started dealing with it.
So it's a question of how well do we also put
So we need to be careful here, not to wave Bibles too much.
Yeah.
So that in 3 short years, we are now consumers of other people's products.
Very well.
Because to be legalized, it's a question of time.
It's a question of time.
It's a question of time.
You know, in the interest of time, because we have to come to the end, I want to hear from Vimal here. When you look at you know, the private sector and how Kenya is now conducting its politics, are you convinced that, you know, as the private sector, we have come of age? You know, we are conducting ourselves, you know, as a serious democracy?
I think we are. When you look at the allowance, the media, I mean, you guys are the media, right? You've got freedom of speech. You've got freedom to say whatever you want to. That's a democracy. I think there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing is that we would want people now to start looking and saying, fine, let me inspect this. What they're saying, is that something that I trust or not? And I think the responsibility that we were saying now, and Kenya Daima is not just private sector. Kenya Daima is part of religious bodies, civil societies, media, private sector, business, youth and women groups coming together to say, let's look at this holistically. And then look at it and say, can we now pass the responsibility to everyone? So we're moving away from haki yetu towards something called wajibu wetu. And from that we're saying this time, nitatenda wajibu wangu. So when we say nitatenda wajibu wangu, we're asking, wajibu wangu ni nini? So a lot of people are asking that. And what we're saying is 3 things. First and foremost, check screen. Kagua kabla kuchagua, which means check the people you are going to bring in. Are they the right people for what I would like to see in this country? Number 1. Number 2, when you go to the ballot box, and when you go into that ballot box, at that time, it's the pen, and it's your paper, and it's you alone. There's no other influence in that ballot box, box, where you are talking about it yourself. Do the right thing. Wajibu wangu is do the right thing and bring the right people out. Not being influenced by tribe, like not being influenced by party or colors, and really say, wajibu wangu is this. Vote. And after voting, we're saying go back home, peacefully wait for the elections, for the results, and then whatever happens. Another wajibu wangu for the political leaders, we're saying, is to say, if you win, have your speech ready. If you lose, have your conceding speech ready.
2 speeches.
And accept. Or go to court.
And also the other thing that I must add, I mean, you don't really, after you vote, you don't have to go home. You can also go and open your business. You can, you can go and tend to your farm.
Life goes on.
Because you have done your business.
And that's
the rest
another
is
thing.
left to IEBC.
That's another thing right now we're saying, for the next 30 days, do not start destocking. Do not start saying, I will play it safe. I won't plant anything because I want to play it safe. I don't know what's going to happen. Nothing's going to go wrong in this country.
Very good. Gentlemen, I'm being told that, you know, our time is up.
Do you have a parting shot?
A parting shot in 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Kenya is doing well. We're doing very well. We've done a lot of good work. Civil servants, public servants have done a lot of good work, pushing the agenda. And the state is like a ship. It's a big, heavy thing. So when you find we've made progress, we need to jealously guard that progress and build on it, so that we're not throwing away the baby with the bathwater. We need to build on the very, very considerable gains which have been made, so that we can achieve this vision sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I know there is so much we can say, but of course, we're going to create more platforms like this so that we can really discuss where Kenya is and where we really want to go as a country. Otherwise, thank you so very much indeed for joining us, because we have to go to Migori County, where the gubernatorial debate is currently underway. Thank you so very much indeed. My name is O'Brien Kimani. Have yourself a good night. Enjoy the Migori gubernatorial debate.
Thank you.
Jumapili hii kwenye runinga ya KBC, ungana naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu kuanzia saa 1 hadi saa 2 asubuhi.
Ningetaka nikwambie, our Jehovah God, because the Bible says he is the same yesterday, today and forevermore. He is able to take you to a place of abundance. He is able to take you to Rehoboth in the name of Jesus Christ.
Kipindi ni neno la neema, ukiletewa naye Askofu Michael Wanderi wa kanisa la Christian Foundation Fellowship Kiambu. Usiko